let's go. We're going to do a deep dive in the first 5 steps because we're going for a deep, hard to diagnose, right? I'll spend more time in the first 3 ones, which are very, very key. A bit less time in steps 4 and 5. Unfortunately, 6 to 10, we will tackle next time, right? To prioritize the quality of the presentation over the quantity of slides, I will focus on the first ones. But as I said, they are analogous. Okay, let's start. Are you ready? Let's go. Problem definition. Well, what is problem definition, right? You have to describe the problem in all its relevant, pertinent dimensions. Why do we do that? Because it's often unclear even to us, but most importantly, in my opinion, is the potential team misalignments. When you think you understand the problem and there are different understandings of the problem, that's where the biggest danger lies. How do you do it? Well, you use a template, right, to help you, but you have to rush, get it on paper quickly, right? Discuss with stakeholders. On paper, it's easy to discuss. Okay, then you can show it around, then you get feedback and you iterate. Don't agonize with every decision, every word, because you can always go back to it. Now, there's something before that we tend not to do very well, I myself included, which is picking your battles, right? Choosing your problems carefully. First, the first question you have to ask yourself, is it really worth it, right? What will happen if it remains unsolved? Because some problems, ladies and gentlemen, solve themselves, right? But what will happen? Second, how much effort and resources do you estimate to need to solve it, right? Are there any better resource allocations or bigger problems, the so-called opportunity cost? Is it new or old, right? This problem. If old, is there any key barrier, like maybe an invisible barrier, preventing people from solving it? Or maybe the solution is already found and is just waiting for implementation, and the barrier is actually that. And finally, is the problem actually many unrelated or related problems, right? It's a must-have discussion with your team. The whole funnel is so important. We oftentimes start, like we pick a battle, we jump onto a problem that doesn't clear all those stages, right? It seems basic, seems simple, but this guide, this checklist can help you and your team avoid wasting energy. Now let's take a look at the so-called problem definition, right? The template I mentioned. We like to put a few dimensions in consulting here, right? The situation is the stable context, right? That everybody stays in the same page. It should be brief. And it comes together with the so-called complication, right? Which highlights the issue. What triggers this problem, right? What is the signal? Next, we have, by the way, consultants really like that, situation and complication. This is a real example from BCG, right? We really love to write it down because then everyone is on the same page quickly. Okay, here is one example in an executive summary, right? Sweden is ranked, however, Sweden has a challenge in growing startups. That's the complication, okay? Now, core part of the problem definition, the questions. We have 2 types in hybrid, right? The diagnosis and the design. You already know the steps, right? It has to address the situation complication, of course, has to make sense, should be understood and accepted, right? If not, you have to spend energy there. And in the diagnosis, well, it delves into the root causes of the problem and tries to understand the why behind the challenge. In the design questions, you have to concentrate on the solutions. And they should be smart. Maybe you remember what is a SMART goal or a SMART question. Do you? Normally people remember at least 3. Specific. Yeah, that's the first one. Let's see if you can make it measurable. Yes, actionable. What else? What is the R? Realistic or relevant? It depends on the school of thought. And timely or time bound. Great. Excellent. Together you nailed it, right? That's smart. And specifies, that's a very important thing that McKinsey uses. It specifies the level of precision required for the solution, because sometimes you don't need to be super precise to make a decision, right? If you have to decide whether to acquire a company or whether to, I don't know, invest in a system and so on, maybe you don't need that much precision, right? Okay, that's the question part. Now, what is the rest of the problem definition? We have 3 components here: success criteria, scope and constraints and stakeholders, right? Defining success, all the metrics, quantitative, qualitative, defining the extent and limitations of the investigation, what is on and off the table. That's the scope and constraints. Very important. People who skip this process, sometimes they get to a solution that is unfeasible. It's off the table. It cannot be implemented for some reason, right? Maybe like, let's change our supplier of this thing. Oh no, but we have a 5-year contract. Okay, we can't break it, and so on. And stakeholders and who is affected and who are the decision makers. Okay, sounds simple, and it is, but you have to put it on paper. We at Highbridge, we like to add benchmarking, right? We don't see it typically in problem definitions, but it's important to evaluate past efforts and measure against them, right? So to know what you did before about this problem and look around. Who is solving that problem? Who has that problem, right? And tackle that challenge. I added here like an MBB example of stakeholders map, right? It's so important to know who is affected, who needs to be involved, informed, who can support, right? It's good to put this, especially if you have a lot of stakeholders involved. Okay, quick question for you. The problem you thought about, how well defined is it right now after you saw this? Is it well defined? It might be not diagnosed, but is it well defined? Yes, that's good. What else? Who else? Yes, so we have the IP to sell. Okay, fair enough. Very good. That's very important, okay? I can't emphasize how important it is to have a clear problem definition aligned among stakeholders. Okay, that's one of the biggest impacts that you can have on a project. Now, here is an example. It's from my personal life, actually. One day, my younger sister, who is an architect, recently graduated, she expressed the desire to expand her business, right? She has an interior design office, right? Just her, but she serves other clients with interior design. And she wanted to expand to lower income families in Brazil, in Rio. And when she told me that, I almost started jumping to conclusions, right? Starting giving her random suggestions and ideas of what she should do or should try. And the famous advice monster, right, we have within us. Has this ever happened to you? Yeah, so then I thought, wait a minute, I can use problem solving here, right? I can use the problem solving method before I give her advice. So for instance, what is the question we're trying to answer? Should the question be like how to make it cheaper or more affordable? Well, it depends. Are you sure that this is the only reason why people are not buying? Maybe you make it cheaper and they still don't buy, right? Maybe there are other factors to address. So what I did with her on a call was to write the problem definition, right? I will not go through it here completely because we have little time today, but essentially I defined with her all the elements of this problem together, right? And importantly, the question here, how to create an attractive interior design offering for low income families that is 50 to 70% cheaper, but high quality, right? And make it represent 50% of her clients by the end of 2024. Okay, very smart couple of questions. Smart meaning S-M-A-R-T. Okay, now sometimes to define a problem well, you want to look at the data. So these are also important skills to have, like data visualization, right? Consultants call this a fact pack. Like you can take a look at the numbers or the data that you have, even without knowing much about it, to see, make some segmentations, look, and try to find more information to write the problem down, okay? But be careful, don't start making analysis. That's a trap, okay? These are some example of fact packs, right? Also from BCG, like consultants, they take a look at how it works today and so on, and this informs the problem definition. Okay, to close on this topic, the advice for you is, if you haven't paid attention until now, make sure you listen to this, okay? Slow down, right? Stress and pressure, they kill problem solving, especially in the beginning, right? Like spend that time. If you don't, it can cost 10x more later if it's poorly defined. Bring others on board, okay? Always, right? Treat your stakeholders as clients, even if you're not a consultant, right? Inspire a vision of like, how does it look like when the problem is gone? And then co-create the definition, right? Clarify multiple times. So bring others on board. Be optimistic. If you're going to slay some dragons, you better have a can-do attitude, right? Or even better, a can-do anything attitude. So be optimistic. Be ready to shatter beliefs. Old problems, they are often misdiagnosed, as I said before, right? Careful with biased questions. This is a common problem, like biased questions that already assume some solutions. They restrain your thinking. So be curious and even a bit cynical, right? When someone thinks they answered the question right. And it's iterative, right? Revisit throughout the project. Even if you are like week 6, you come back of a 8-week project, come back, revisit the problem definition. Okay, this will protect you against the dreaded scope creep, right? So revisit often.